Welcome. Today we're reading the chapter Bound in the Jungle of the novel Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle. Last time, Tarzan remained bound in the tent of Sheikh Ibn Jad while overhearing a plot against him between the Sheikh's daughter, Atasia, and Zaid, who both mistrust Fahd and Tolog, Ibn Jad's brother. When Tolog attempted to kill Tarzan under the cover of night, the ape man's cries attracted the attention of Tantor, the elephant, who disrupted the menzil and rescued Tarzan. As Tarzan and Tantor fled into the jungle, the Bedouins were left in chaos, unaware of the true power behind the escape.
The apes of Toyat 3 days crawled slowly out of the east and followed one another across the steaming jungle and over the edge of the world beyond. For 3 days the Arab moved slowly northward toward El Habash. For 3 days Tarzan of the apes lay in the little clearing, bound and helpless, while Tantor the elephant stood guard above him. Once each day the great bull brought the ape man food and water. The camel leather thongs held securely, and no outside aid appeared to release Tarzan from the ever-increasing discomfort and danger of his predicament. He had called to Manu the monkey to come and gnaw the strands apart, but Manu, ever irresponsible, had only promised and forgotten. And so the ape man lay uncomplaining, as is the way of beasts, patiently waiting for release, knowing that it might come in the habiliment of death. Upon the morning of the 4th day, Tantor gave evidences of restlessness. His brief foragings had exhausted the nearby supply of food for himself and his charge. He wanted to move on and take Tarzan with him, but the ape man was now convinced that to be carried farther into the elephant country would lessen his chances for succor, for he felt that the only one of the jungle people who could release him was Mangani the great ape. Tarzan knew that already he was practically at the outer limits of the Mangani country, yet there was a remote chance that a band of the great anthropoids might pass this way and discover him, while, should Tantor carry him farther north, even this meager likelihood of release would be lost forever. Tantor wanted to be gone. He nudged Tarzan with his trunk and rolled him over. He raised him from the ground. "Put me down, Tantor," said the ape man, and the pachyderm obeyed, but he turned and walked away. Tarzan watched him cross the clearing to the trees upon the far side. There Tantor hesitated, stopped, turned. He looked back at Tarzan and trumpeted. He dug up the earth with a great tusk and appeared angry. "Go and feed," said Tarzan, "and then return. Tomorrow the Mangani may come." Tantor trumpeted again and, wheeling about, disappeared in the jungle. For a long time the ape man lay listening to the retreating footfalls of his old friend. "He is gone," he mused. "I cannot blame him. Perhaps it is as well. What matter whether it be today, tomorrow, or the day after?" The morning passed. The noonday silence lay upon the jungle. Only the insects were abroad. They annoyed Tarzan as they did the other jungle beasts, but to the poison of their stings he was immune through a lifetime of inoculation. Suddenly, there came a great scampering through the trees. Little Manu and his brothers, his sisters and his cousins, came trooping madly through the middle terrace, squealing, chattering and scolding. "Manu!" called Tarzan. "What comes?" "The Mangani! The Mangani!" shrieked the monkeys. "Go and fetch them, Manu!" commanded the ape man. "We are afraid." "Go and call to them from the upper terraces," urged Tarzan. "They cannot reach you there. Tell them that one of their people lies helpless here. Tell them to come and release me." "We are afraid." "They cannot reach you in the upper terraces. Go, they will be your friends then." "They cannot climb to the upper terraces," said an old monkey. "I will go." The others, halted in their flight, turned and watched the greybeard as he scampered quickly off amongst the loftiest branches of the great trees, and Tarzan waited. Presently he heard the deep gutturals of his own people, the great apes, the Mangani. Perhaps there would be those among them who knew him. Perhaps again the band may have come from afar and have no knowledge of him, though that he doubted. In them, however, was his only hope. He lay there, listening, waiting. He heard Manu screaming and chattering as he scampered about high above the Mangani. Then, of a sudden, silence fell upon the jungle. There was only the sound of insects, buzzing, humming. The ape man lay looking in the direction from which had come the sounds of the approaching anthropoids. He knew what was transpiring behind that dense wall of foliage. He knew that presently a pair of fierce eyes would be examining him, surveying the clearing, searching for an enemy, warily probing for a trick or a trap. He knew that the first sight of him might arouse distrust, fear, rage. For what reason had they to love or trust the cruel and merciless Tarmangani? There lay great danger in the possibility that, seeing him, they might quietly withdraw without showing themselves. That, then, would be the end, for there were no others than the Mangani to whom he might look for rescue. With this in mind he spoke. "I am a friend," he called to them. "The Tarmangani caught me and bound my wrists and ankles. I cannot move. I cannot defend myself. I cannot get food nor water. Come and remove my bonds." From just behind the screen of foliage, a voice replied, "You are a Tarmangani." "I am Tarzan of the Apes," replied the ape man. "Yes," screamed Manu. "He is Tarzan of the Apes. The Tarmangani and the Gomangani bound him and Tantor brought him here. 4 times has Kudu hunted across the sky, while Tarzan of the Apes lay bound." "I know Tarzan," said another voice from behind the foliage, and presently the leaves parted, and a huge shaggy ape lumbered into the clearing. Swinging along with knuckles to the ground, the brute came close to Tarzan. "Mwalat!" exclaimed the ape man. "It is Tarzan of the Apes," said the great ape, but the others did not understand. "What?" they demanded. "Whose band is this?" asked Tarzan. "Toyat is king," replied Mwalat. "Then do not tell them it is really I," whispered Tarzan, "until you have cut these bonds. Toyat hates me. He will kill me if I am defenseless." "Yes," agreed Mwalat. "Here," said Tarzan, raising his bound wrists. "Bite these bonds in 2. You are Tarzan of the Apes, the friend of Mwalat." "Mwalat will do as you ask," replied the ape. Of course, in the meager language of the apes, their conversation did not sound at all like a conversation between men, but was rather a mixture of growls and grunts and gestures which, however, served every purpose that could have been served by the most formal and correct of civilized speech, since it carried its messages clearly to the minds of both the Mangani and the Tarmangani, the great ape and the great white ape. As the other members of the band pressed forward into the clearing, seeing that Mwalat was not harmed, the latter stooped and with powerful teeth severed the camel leather thongs that secured the wrists of the ape man, and similarly he freed his ankles. As Tarzan came to his feet, the balance of the fierce and shaggy band swung into the clearing. In the lead was Toyat, King Ape, and at his heels 8 more full-grown males, with perhaps 6 or 7 females and a number of young. The young and the shes hung back, but the bulls pressed forward to where Tarzan stood with Mwalat at his side. The King Ape growled menacingly. "Tarmangani!" he cried. Wheeling in a circle, he leaped into the air and came down on all 4s. He struck the ground savagely with his clenched fists. He growled and foamed and leaped again and again. Toyat was working himself to a pitch of rage that would nerve him to attack the Tarmangani, and by these maneuvers he hoped also to arouse the savage fighting spirit of his fellows. "It is Tarzan of the Apes, friend of the Mangani," said Makawalat. "It is a Tarmangani, enemy of the Mangani," cried Toyat. "They come with great thundersticks and kill us. They make our shes and our balis dead with a loud noise. Kill the Tarmangani." "It is Tarzan of the Apes," growled Gayat. "When I was a little Balu, he saved me from Numa. Tarzan of the Apes is the friend of the Mangani." "Kill the Tarmangani!" shrieked Toyat, leaping high into the air. Several of the other bulls were now circling and leaping into the air as Gayat placed himself at Tarzan's side. The ape man knew them well. He knew that sooner or later one of them would have excited himself to such a pitch of maniacal frenzy that he would leap suddenly upon him. Mwalat and Gayat would attack in his defense. Several more bulls would launch themselves into the battle, and there would ensue a free-for-all fight from which not all of them would emerge alive, and none without more or less serious injuries. But Tarzan of the Apes did not wish to battle with his friends. "Stop!" he commanded, raising his opened palm to attract attention. "I am Tarzan of the Apes, mighty hunter, mighty fighter. Long did I range with the tribe of Kerchak. When Kerchak died, I became King Ape. Many of you know me. All know that I am first a Mangani, that I am friend to all Mangani. Toyat would have you kill me, because Toyat hates Tarzan of the Apes. He hates him, not because he is a Tarmangani, but because Tarzan once kept Toyat from becoming king. That was many reigns ago, when some of you were still Balus. If Toyat has been a good king, Tarzan is glad, but now he is not acting like a good king, for he is trying to turn you against your best friend. You, Zuto!" he exclaimed, suddenly pointing a finger at a huge bull. "You leap and growl and foam at the mouth. You would sink your fangs into the flesh of Tarzan. Have you forgotten, Zutho, the time that you were sick and the other members of the tribe left you to die? Have you forgotten who brought you food and water? Have you forgotten who it was that kept Sabor the lioness, and Sheeta the panther, and Dango the hyena from you during those long nights?" As Tarzan spoke, his tone one of quiet authority, the apes gradually paused to listen to his words. It was a long speech for the jungle folk. The great apes, nor the little monkeys, long concentrated upon one idea. Already, before he had finished, one of the bulls was overturning a rotted log in search of succulent insects. Zutho was wrinkling his brows in unaccustomed recollection. Presently he spoke. Zutho remembers, he said. He is the friend of Tarzan, and ranged himself beside Mukwalat. With this, the other bulls, except Toyat, appeared to lose interest in the proceedings, and either wandered off in search of food or squatted down in the grass. Toyat still fumed, but as he saw his cause deserted, he prosecuted his war dance at a safer distance from Tarzan and his defenders, and it was not long before he too was attracted by the more profitable business of bug hunting. And so Tarzan ranged again with the great apes, and as he loafed lazily through the forest with the shaggy brutes, he thought of his foster mother, Kala, the great she-ape, the only mother he had ever known. He recalled with a thrill of pride her savage defense of him against all their natural enemies of the jungle, and against the hate and jealousy of old Tublat, her mate, and against the enmity of Kerchak, the terrible old king ape. As it had been but yesterday since he had seen him, Tarzan's memory projected again upon the screen of recollection the huge bulk and the ferocious features of old Kerchak. What a magnificent beast he had been! To the childish mind of the ape boy, Kerchak had been the personification of savage ferocity and authority, and even today he recalled him with almost a sensation of awe. That he had overthrown and slain this gigantic ruler still seemed to Tarzan almost incredible. He fought again his battles with Turkoz and with Bolgani the gorilla. He thought of Tika, whom he had loved, and of Thaka and Tana, and of the little black boy Tibo, whom he had endeavored to adopt. And so he dreamed through lazy daylight hours while Ibn Jad crept slowly northward toward the leopard city of Nimr, and in another part of the jungle events were transpiring that were to entangle Tarzan in the meshes of a great adventure.
Did you enjoy today's chapter of Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle? Why not subscribe and ring the bell?